In 1944, a few months before his death, Edgar Cayce uttered a statement that no one took seriously. He said that a wave of ancient souls was about to incarnate on Earth. Not just any souls. Souls that had already lived hundreds of lives. Souls that carried within them the memory of lost civilizations. No one believed him. Science ignored him. Religion condemned him. But what happened in the decades that followed proved that Cayce was right. If you were born between 1961 and 1990, this story is about you. And it's no coincidence that you're listening right now, because what I'm about to reveal to you explains everything. It explains why you've always felt different. It explains why the world has always felt too small for you. And it explains why, despite everything, you've never been able to silence that voice inside you that keeps repeating, "There's something greater I'm meant to do." Edgar Cayce was the most extensively documented psychic of the 20th century. During his lifetime, he conducted over 14,000 psychic readings, not in vague, mystical trances, in precise states, recorded and transcribed word for word. And a huge portion of those readings concerned reincarnation. Cayce described his patients' past lives with verifiable details, names, dates, places, information he couldn't possibly have known, and above all, he described a mechanism that changes everything you believe about your soul. According to Cayce, souls do not incarnate at random. There are precise cosmic cycles, time windows in which certain souls are called back to Earth for a specific purpose. It's not romanticism. It's a system. A system with precise rules that Cayce mapped out, reading after reading, for over 40 years. And the window that opened between 1961 and 1990 was different from all the others. Because the souls called during that period were not young souls. They were souls carrying a tremendous burden of experience. Souls that had lived through eras of creation and destruction. Cayce called them mature souls. And their arrival was no accident. It was a response. Here's the point that no one tells you. Being an ancient soul is not a privilege, it's a burden. And if you were born during that time window, you know this all too well. You know it because you've experienced it firsthand ever since you were a child. While your peers worried about superficial things, you asked questions that made adults uncomfortable. Why are we here? What happens when we die? Why do people lie to one another? No one knew how to answer you. And you learned to keep quiet. You learned to pretend to be like everyone else. But inside, that feeling of not belonging grew stronger every year. Cayce explained this phenomenon with surgical precision. He said that old souls operate on a different energetic frequency. It's not a metaphor. It's a mechanism. When your vibrational frequency is higher than that of your surroundings, the result is isolation. Not because there's anything wrong with you, but because you're tuned into a station that others can't pick up. That's why you felt exhausted after social interactions. That's why you preferred solitude. That's why empty conversations drained your energy like a vampire. You weren't shy. You weren't antisocial. You were simply incompatible with the dominant frequency. And no one ever explained that to you. In fact, they convinced you that you were the problem. But stop for a moment. There's something even deeper. Cayce described a phenomenon that psychology today would call transgenerational trauma of the soul. Ancient souls don't just carry experience, they carry wounds. Wounds from lives in which they saw libraries burn. Wounds from lives in which they saw temples destroyed. Wounds from lives in which the knowledge they held was forcibly erased. That inexplicable sadness you feel when you think of lost civilizations, it's not romantic nostalgia, it's memory. It's personal pain that crosses the veil between lives. But Cayce didn't stop at the diagnosis. He also revealed the mechanism that triggers it. And this is what no other channel will tell you. In his readings, Cayce explained that ancient souls arrive with latent abilities, not magical abilities, perceptual abilities. Clairsentience, for example. That feeling of knowing something without knowing how you know it. You haven't studied it, you haven't read about it, and no one has told you. You simply know it. Cayce explained that this happens because the soul accesses what he called the Akashic field, a universal field of information where everything that has ever been thought, experienced, or created is recorded. You have natural access to that field. That's why you sometimes solve problems in ways no one else has considered. That's why you sometimes know things about people you've just met. You're not a genius. You're receiving information from a source broader than your logical mind. But here's the dark side that spiritual gurus always leave out. These abilities, if left unmanaged, become destructive. Amplified empathy, for example. You walk into a room and absorb everyone's emotional state. You talk to someone who's suffering and find yourself feeling depressed for no reason. You watch the news and feel the world's collective pain as if it were your own. For years, you believed you were weak, too sensitive. But it's not weakness, it's energetic porosity. Your energetic boundaries are naturally more permeable, and no one ever taught you how to protect yourself. No one taught you how to distinguish your own emotions from those of others. So you've gone through life like an emotional sponge, absorbing everything, without knowing how to let it go. Cayce was explicit on this point. He said that an unmanaged gift becomes a curse. Energy that doesn't flow freely creates blockages, and those blockages manifest as unexplained anxiety, panic attacks, insomnia, and chronic exhaustion. These aren't diseases. They're symptoms of compressed energy seeking a way out. It's like damming a river. The water will find a way out anyway, even if it means breaking the banks. The solution Cayce pointed to is simpler than you think, but it requires one thing that almost no one is willing to give: time. In his readings, Cayce repeatedly emphasized a fundamental concept. Daily meditation is not optional for ancient souls. It's maintenance, like cleaning a filter that gets clogged every day. It doesn't take hours, it takes minutes, but every day, without exception, because consistency matters more than intensity. 5 minutes every day have more impact than 1 hour once a week. But Cayce added something that goes beyond meditation. He said that old souls need to recognize one another. You can't complete your mission alone. There are millions of people just like you, scattered across the world, who feel exactly what you feel, who carry the same sense of not belonging. And as the collective awakening intensifies, you're finding one another, through synchronicity, through encounters that seem destined. And when you finally meet someone who truly understands you, something inside you heals, because you realize that you weren't the problem. You never were. The world was trying to convince you that your perception was wrong, but your perception was correct. Cayce died in 1945 knowing he would not live to see the arrival of the souls he had foretold. But he left a final message that is worth more than any technique. He said that the true power of an old soul does not lie in psychic abilities. It does not lie in esoteric knowledge. It lies in choice. The choice to stop pretending. The choice to stop conforming to a world that wasn't built for you. The choice to live in alignment with who you truly are, even when it's scary. Even when it costs you relationships. Even when no one around you understands. That choice is your mission. It's not something you have to look for outside yourself. It's something you have to allow within yourself. And if this message has resonated with something deep inside you, it's no coincidence. It's the signal your soul has been waiting for. Leave a comment. Share it with anyone you feel needs to hear it. Because maybe the person who needs to hear these words today is someone you know. And maybe without